Check 1 2. Okay. I don't really know how to do this, but when it's hot out here, so that's really hard. I'll put this hat on. But I wanted to make this video because, like I said, I used to hate Father's Day because it used to just remind me of my dad being gone. I mean, it still does, but I guess it's kind of changed a little bit to where it's still painful, yes, but it's not the same type of pain. But first of all, this is my dad. His name is Gregory J. Antoine. He was in the Navy for 6 years. Like I said, I just wanted to make this because I used to hate Father's Day because of how much pain it just reminded me of. Just losing my dad, it was a lot. And especially like around the time that he passed, I didn't really have time to grieve because I was still in college at the time. And then that whole semester, that was my first semester of college, and I couldn't focus. One, I was at A&M and I was in the Corps of Cadets. If any of y'all know anything about that, it's crazy on its own. But I also was going through the stuff with my dad. For those of y'all who don't know, he died of cancer and it got really bad. My first semester at college, and there were multiple times where I would either be driven black. I mean, I am driven black because I am driven back home, or I would catch a flight. There was one time I remember, I think it was my commandant or one of the leaders from the school. They came and brought me to the airport because there were multiple times that I went back home because they didn't know if my dad was gonna make it through the night. And so I was being flown back or driven back to be there in case, But there was one time when I went back. It was the day. It was like the week. There was one time specifically I remember. It was after we'd done our selection, what they called it, which is basically you do a bunch of like. Am I sitting in an ant pile? There are ants here. You do a bunch of exercises. There are ants here. You do a bunch of exercises and stuff, and basically, if you make it through, if you don't quit, then you basically get to continue being in the Corps, and you get your Corps brass, which is like a whole thing in the Corps. But I came home, and that was like the day before Thanksgiving. Because it was Wednesday I came home, because it was that Tuesday, and I got home Tuesday night, I guess, and then Wednesday I was home. It was me and my mom and my brother, and obviously my dad at the time, and I could tell that it was like really bad, and like I don't want to be like too graphic, but he is there was one time where he literally fell out of the bed, and I was helping lift him up, and whenever I went to grab his arm, you could feel like the blood had pulled in underneath the skin, and it was basically like a scab but under the skin. It's like, think of the feeling of a scab, but it was just like all his arm right here. And I was like, holy crap, this is really serious. And yeah, it was a lot. And then we had Thanksgiving, and then I went back to school, and I did my finals, or I went to go take. I literally was there for 1 week from Thanksgiving, because it was like whatever the 24th, and then that week, and then whatever the weekend, I guess the next weekend, pretty much. Yeah, because it's the next Sunday on December 3rd, which is actually my sister's birthday, believe it or not. Which I feel really bad for her all the time, because her birthday is like that's the day that he passed. But I remember because I went back home again, because they were like, he's sick, he's in the hospital again. And I went there, and I remember being there with my mom, my sisters, and David, and my aunts. A couple of my aunts were there. And we were just all there, and I remember not wanting to go in because I didn't want to see him hooked up to all the tubes and stuff, which, if you don't know, it's not a great thing to see. Because I think at some point he was basically on a breathing tube. But even without that, he still had all the IVs and all the stuff that they had hooked up to him. And he was so skinny, and he looked so malnourished. It was just really hard. But that day, I remember Angel was in there actually, and he had got into some type of cardiac arrest or something, or some type of seizure, I think it was. And Angel came out, and then all the doctors went in, and then they were trying to save him, but they couldn't, and that's whenever he passed. And while they said to go in while he was still warm, and so I went in, and I was holding his hand, and I was just crying. I was just crying because I didn't want him to go, obviously. And I just sat there holding his hands for a long time, crying. And eventually they took him out, and they covered his body with a flag, and then they gave me the flag that they wheeled him out of the hospital with, because my dad wanted me to have that, which I still have today. Yeah, so that's the short version of it. And I really didn't like anniversaries or reminders of what happened, but I started trying to remember all the good things, all the good times when he was healthy. I mean, even when he wasn't, he was always smiling. He was always trying to make people laugh, which is a crazy type of resilience. Um, and today, whenever we were at church, I was just thinking, I was like, yeah, we played a song called God, I'm Just Grateful. And it goes, who am I that you're right here by my side? God, I'm just grateful for you. And it kind of just reminded me that even when it feels like I'm alone, He's always been right here by my side through everything. And it is a reassurance. It is. Even though it still sucks, it still hurts, it's so painful, but it was a interesting thing. So I got my dad this mug because they said if you wanted to get your dad a mug, you could. So I got him this mug. Yeah. So happy Father's Day, Dad. I love you and I miss you, and I will always miss you. And I know that one day I'll get to see you again, and I hope that I get to make you proud. And I'm gonna listen to your favorite song, Every Praise by Hezekiah Walker, which you would always play on repeat. So I will do that for you here. And yeah, I love you, Dad.